Marcus barely slept. Every time he closed his eyes, the same numbers came back. Duplicate barcodes. Products marked as shipped weeks earlier. Boxes still sitting on Warehouse 7's shelves. Someone had made a mistake. Someone had built a system around one. But one question refused to let him rest. If the merchandise never left the warehouse, where had the money gone? The following morning, Marcus pulled into the employee parking lot nearly 30 minutes before his shift. The sun had barely risen. Only a handful of vehicles occupied the cracked asphalt. As he stepped from his car, he noticed an old pickup parked several spaces away. Someone sat behind the wheel with his head resting against the steering wheel. Marcus recognized the truck immediately. Mr. Lewis, the older employee Victor, had humiliated on Marcus's first day. Marcus hesitated for a moment before walking over and gently knocking on the driver's window. Mr. Lewis quickly straightened, wiping at his face before lowering the glass. "Morning. Morning," Marcus replied. "You okay?" "I'm fine." The answer came too quickly. His tired eyes said something completely different. Marcus didn't press him. He simply waited. After several quiet seconds, Mr. Lewis finally spoke. "My wife starts chemotherapy next week." Marcus felt his chest tighten. "I didn't know. I don't tell people." Mr. Lewis looked toward the warehouse. "I can't lose this job." Suddenly, everything Marcus had witnessed during the past 2 days made sense. Why Mr. Lewis accepted insults without arguing. Why he apologized when machines failed. Why he worked through obvious pain. It wasn't because he lacked courage. It was because someone else depended on him. "My insurance comes through this company," Mr. Lewis continued softly. "If I lose this job..." His voice disappeared. It didn't need to continue. Marcus had spent years reviewing healthcare costs in executive meetings. He had approved benefit packages, negotiated insurance contracts, compared spreadsheets. But standing beside that aging pickup truck, those numbers finally belonged to a real family. For the first time, Marcus understood what losing a paycheck actually meant to the people whose names appeared on his reports. The warehouse felt different that morning. Not louder, quieter. Word about Jamal's termination had spread. So had Denise's suspension. Nobody talked unless they had to. People worked with the uneasy silence of employees, trying not to become the next example. Fear no longer belonged to one person. It had spread through the entire building. Marcus returned to inventory zone C. Boxes rolled down conveyors. Forklifts moved between towering shelves. Scanners beeped without interruption. Everything looked normal. Only now, he knew appearances couldn't be trusted. Someone brushed past him. "Sorry," the employee muttered without stopping. Marcus glanced down. A folded piece of paper rested in his hand. He looked up. Miguel was already halfway down another aisle, never once turning around. Marcus waited until no supervisors were nearby. Then he quietly unfolded the note. Only 6 words appeared across the page. "Loading dock 4. Tonight. Come alone. Asterisk, asterisk." No signature. No explanation. Nothing else. Marcus folded the paper and slipped it into his pocket. Another question. Another piece of a puzzle that kept growing larger. As the morning continued, Marcus stopped paying attention only to the workers. Instead, he began watching Victor. Not what he said, what he did. Victor seemed determined to be everywhere at once, correcting employees, checking production lines, pressuring supervisors, demanding faster quotas. But after nearly 2 hours of observation, Marcus noticed something that didn't fit. Every time Victor's phone rang, he left the building before answering. Every single time. Never beside employees. Never inside the warehouse. Always outside. Away from anyone who might overhear. The pattern repeated itself again just before lunch. Victor glanced at his phone. Without saying a word, he headed toward the side exit. Marcus waited several seconds before quietly following at a distance. Outside, Victor walked toward a black SUV parked behind the warehouse. The windows were so heavily tinted that Marcus couldn't see inside. Victor answered the call. Marcus couldn't hear everything, only scattered fragments carried by the wind. No. Audit. Not yet. Move everything tonight. Marcus stopped walking. Move everything? His mind immediately returned to the duplicate inventory. Whatever was happening, it wasn't finished yet. Hey! Marcus turned sharply. A supervisor stood several yards away. What are you doing back here? Marcus forced an embarrassed smile. Sorry, I got turned around looking for the maintenance office. The supervisor pointed toward the warehouse. Wrong direction. Marcus nodded apologetically and headed back inside. He kept his pace steady. Only after disappearing through the doors did he allow himself a slow breath. His heartbeat had nearly doubled. Victor wasn't simply hiding conversations. He was coordinating something, and whatever needed to be moved was scheduled for tonight. Marcus spent the rest of the afternoon working like every other warehouse employee. Scanning, lifting, loading, watching, waiting. But his thoughts never left a folded note in his pocket. Loading Dock 4. Tonight, come alone. By the time his shift finally ended, Marcus had already made his decision. If someone inside Warehouse 7 was willing to risk everything just to meet him, then whatever waited for him after dark might finally explain why an anonymous letter had warned him that his reports were lying. And for the first time since he arrived undercover, Marcus wasn't walking toward another shift. He was walking toward the truth. That night, Marcus drove toward loading dock with a folded note still resting in his pocket. The warehouse looked nothing like it had during the day. The endless hum of conveyor belts was gone. The shouting, the scanners, the forklifts, all of it had been replaced by silence. Only a few security lights cast pale circles across the enormous loading yard. Marcus checked the time. 9 p.m. Exactly as the note had instructed, a figure stepped out from the shadows. Miguel, you came. Marcus nodded. You told me to come alone. Miguel glanced over both shoulders before taking another step closer. They're watching everyone. Marcus studied his face. This wasn't ordinary fear. It was a fear of someone who believed one mistake could destroy his life. Who's watching? Miguel shook his head. You asked too many questions. Marcus smiled faintly. I've heard that before. Miguel didn't smile. Instead, he reached into his backpack and removed a small flash drive. He held it for a moment without letting go. I copied these 6 months ago. Marcus looked from the drive to Miguel. What is it? Shipping records. Marcus felt his pulse quicken. Why are you giving them to me? Because you're new. Marcus frowned. I don't understand. Miguel finally looked him directly in the eyes. The new people haven't learned to be afraid yet. He lowered his voice. The rest of us have. Marcus accepted the flash drive. It felt almost weightless. Yet Miguel had risked everything to hand it over. What's on it? Miguel swallowed hard. Every shipment that disappeared. Marcus stared at him. Disappeared? The paperwork says the truck's left full. He paused. But I loaded some of them myself. Marcus waited. Miguel's voice became almost a whisper. There was nothing inside. The words hung in the night air. Marcus's mind immediately returned to everything he'd seen since arriving undercover. Duplicate barcodes. Inventory already marked as shipped. Employees blamed for shortages that never made sense. Now, empty trucks. Each discovery answered one question and created another. This isn't theft, Marcus said quietly. Miguel nodded. It's fraud. For the first time, Marcus could finally see the outline of the system. The inventory wasn't disappearing. The records were being manipulated, and innocent employees were paying the price whenever the numbers needed someone to blame. Headlights suddenly swept across the loading dock. Both men turned at the same time. A black SUV rolled slowly into the parking lot. Marcus recognized it instantly. The same vehicle Victor had walked toward earlier that afternoon. Miguel's face drained of color. They're early. Marcus looked at him. Who? Miguel grabbed his arm. You have to leave. Before Marcus could respond, 3 men stepped out of the SUV. None wore company uniforms. One carried a clipboard. Another spoke quietly into a handheld radio. The third slowly scanned the parking lot as though searching for someone. Miguel's voice barely escaped above a whisper. "If they see me talking to you." He stopped. He didn't need to finish. Instead, he ran. "Stop." One of the men sprinted after him. The other 2 followed without hesitation. Marcus instinctively stepped forward, then froze. Something about the situation felt wrong. No one identified themselves. No one called for the police. No one shouted for warehouse security. Their only concern was Miguel, as if the employee didn't matter. Only what he had taken. Marcus slowly looked down at the flash drive still resting in his hand. Whatever was stored on it, someone considered it valuable enough to chase a man across a dark loading yard. Marcus waited until the parking lot fell silent again. Only then did he leave. He drove straight across town to the small rented office. The lights were already on. Sarah Mitchell and Ethan Brooks were waiting inside. Neither asked a question. Marcus walked in, crossed the room, and quietly placed a flash drive on the table. Ethan immediately connected it to his laptop. The screen filled with folders, shipping manifests, warehouse logs, delivery confirmations, security schedules. At first glance, everything appeared ordinary, almost too ordinary. Then Ethan opened a spreadsheet titled Adjustment List. Rows of shipment numbers filled the screen. Marcus leaned closer. Next to each shipment appeared a short note. Assign loss to employee. Another column read, Recommended termination. Marcus felt the room grow strangely still. He scanned the names. Jamal, Carlos, Melissa, Mr. Lewis, then more and more, dozens of employees. Every person had been connected to an inventory shortage. Only now, the record showed those shortages had never existed. The losses had been fabricated. The employees had become convenient explanations for crimes they never committed. Sarah covered her mouth. My God! Ethan continued scrolling. Then his hand suddenly stopped. Marcus looked up. What is it? Without speaking, Ethan enlarged the bottom section of the spreadsheet. Another column appeared. Marcus hadn't noticed it before. Its title read, Approval Required. Every fraudulent inventory adjustment carried the same digital signature, Victor Caldwell. Marcus stared silently at the screen. The room remained quiet for several long seconds. Finally he spoke. No. His voice was calm, almost unsettlingly calm. This doesn't end with Victor. Sarah looked at him. What do you mean? Marcus pointed lower on the page. There. Another approval field. Not a person's name. An executive authorization code. Someone above Victor had approved every fraudulent adjustment. Someone inside corporate headquarters. Someone Marcus had trusted. Silence settled over the office. The anonymous letter echoed through Marcus's mind once again. Your reports are lying to you. Come see how your people really live. He understood now. The letter had never been warning him about one abusive manager. It had been warning him about an entire system built to hide the truth. And somewhere inside that system, someone much closer to Marcus than Victor, Caldwell was helping keep it alive. Marcus didn't sleep. Not because of the fraud. Because of the names. Jamal, Denise, Mr. Lewis, Carlos, Melissa. Dozens of employees had lost their jobs, their reputations, and in some cases their livelihoods, all because someone had decided they were expendable. But one name bothered him more than any other, the Executive Authorization Code. Only a handful of people in the company had approval privileges at that level. Marcus knew every one of them personally. He had hired most of them himself. One of them had betrayed everything Harrison Distribution Group claimed to stand for. The following morning, Marcus returned to Warehouse 7. Nothing about him suggested he was the CEO. Same gray uniform, same work boots, same employee badge. Victor Caldwell greeted the staff with his usual confidence. "Good morning, everyone." No one answered. Victor didn't seem to notice, or perhaps he no longer cared. He gathered the supervisors. "We received notice that corporate auditors may visit sometime next month." Marcus watched Victor carefully. "We're going to make sure everything is perfect before they arrive." Marcus almost smiled. Victor had no idea the audit had already begun. Just after lunch, Marcus received a text. "Ethan, we found the executive authorization." Marcus quietly stepped outside and called him. "Tell me." "The code belongs to Daniel Mercer." Marcus closed his eyes. Daniel Mercer, Chief Financial Officer, his friend for nearly 12 years. The man who had stood beside him during the company's hardest years. The executive Marcus trusted with every financial report. Marcus spoke slowly. "Are you certain?" "There isn't any doubt." "And the money?" Ethan took a deep breath. "We traced it." "Where did it go?" "It never disappeared." Marcus frowned. "What do you mean?" "The inventory was written off as losses, then sold through shell companies." Marcus's heart sank. Ethan continued. "The shell companies resold the same merchandise at full price." Marcus finished the sentence himself. "And someone pocketed the difference." "Millions." Silence. "Not thousands. Not hundreds of thousands. Millions of dollars have been stolen while innocent employees carry the blame." That afternoon, Victor walked the warehouse floor with unusual confidence. He stopped beside Mr. Lewis. "I've reviewed your productivity again." Mr. Lewis quietly nodded. "I'm doing my best." "It isn't enough." Victor handed him an envelope. "Effective immediately, your employment is terminated." The warehouse became completely silent. Mr. Lewis stared at the envelope. "My wife," his voice trembled, "she starts treatment tomorrow." Victor shrugged. "I'm sure another employer needs slow workers." Marcus felt something change inside him. He had promised himself he would wait until every piece of evidence was secured. But watching another innocent man sacrificed, he realized enough was enough. Victor turned to leave. A calm voice stopped him. "No." Victor slowly turned around. Marcus stepped forward. "I don't think he will."